What's up, Rubits? Little Big Robots here with another video. Obviously, this is the Little Big Robots podcast, Toy Podcast episode 10. It is Saturday, October 29th. I'll have to check. I don't have my phone on me. Oh, my phone's right here. So I believe the 29th. Anyway, it's a couple days before Halloween of 2022, so I'm very, very excited. Halloween's really fun time. We don't do as much with it as we used to, but we definitely still enjoy handing out candy to the kids and seeing the costumes and seeing neighbors we don't see but once a year, that kind of thing. You know, they come up the street with their kids. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about just some of the ways I save money when I'm purchasing toys, and not really like tips, but philosophy and stuff like that. But before I talk about that, and if you want to skip this little quick political rant section, that's perfectly fine. I'll put a chapter down below. You can skip it. It's not a rant. It's just something I noticed. But whenever I announced or I said that I was deleting my Twitter, which I've been on Twitter since 2009, I've always kept it because I used to use it for work, for covering games. If you don't know, this channel used to be all about video games, mmorpgs mostly, and I really used it for blogging in 2009. And then when I was writing about video games in 2010, I used it there all the time. But I really honestly used it for like almost a miniature diary platform, like a little mini blog. So that's why I was kind of happy whenever they gave out more characters later on. So I've had it for a long time, and I have people on there I've known on the internet alone, just internet friends. You know, we all have them. I've known them for a decade or more, only through stuff like Twitter or my blog or whatever, or my articles. I know people on there who have their own, blog spaces, podcasts, and people like that I value. But as you know, recently Elon Musk bought Twitter, and again, the site was already a hell site. Sorry for the hat, by the way. I just got out of the shower. My hair is always looking rough. The site was already a rough, bad site. It's a horrible site, just for misinformation, for hate speech, all that kind of. It's the internet. If you spend time on the internet, which I've been around since '99 on the internet. Right as the internet was becoming a really common thing in households, everybody was getting AOL and stuff. You do realize really quickly that the internet is a cesspool, and so you have to kind of control your experience on it, or you get overwhelmed by that stuff. So I've always been good at that. I have thick skin. I can take some weirdness here and there, but I've always steered clear of it. I just don't like that kind of thing. But anyway, so he buys it. And the first thing he announces is that he thinks it should be more of a free speech platform. And when I made my comment that I was deleting my account, I got a comment here, and I got a few other comments over there and on my Facebook and stuff, which we'll talk about Facebook and the hell site that is in a second. A few people mentioned free speech, including Elon Musk. Just so people understand, free speech is not applicable to a private social network. So I have this video on my YouTube right now. If you comment on it, it's not your right to comment on it. I can block you or delete your comment. That's my right. It's not you don't have a right. It's a private website. It's like my own little page. Unless YouTube turned around and said, it's not your right anymore to block comments. If they took away that ability, that's their right as a company. So it's a private space. It's like somebody walking into your home almost. And they don't just have the right to just walk into your home. So the free speech is not applicable to Twitter. I'm sorry. I understand there is a discussion around how large it is. But I want you to note that when someone like a Donald Trump was kicked off of Twitter, he didn't be quiet. He wasn't put in jail. He wasn't in quiet time. He had other avenues. There's 16 other social networks out there, including starting his own, to speak. And not only that, he could go on TV. He could go on a video. He could walk into the town square. That's where free speech aligns, is real public spaces, not private websites. There is a discussion about a former president, I should say, and the importance of allowing mouthpieces for famous people or people who have a big influence. My problem with it has always been is that he not only his policies towards and other people like him, Twitter allowing people like him to spread misinformation not only about COVID and stuff, which was dangerous and got people killed, but about the voting process. So I think that typically a lot of people who are on his side tend to believe there was something, at minimum, they believe there was something off with the last election, where in every state, every audit they ran, every court case, and people involved in the process, secretaries of state, I believe is what they're called, that typically do that, certify it and stuff in a state. From there down, on all sides of the political spectrum, there's been almost no cases of fraud. There have been some in the news of Republicans multiplying votes. In Florida, there was a few older people. But you're always going to have a little bit. Nobody denies that. But so for him to spread that misinformation, which has literally done damage to people's confidence in the U.S. voting system, which is one of the most damaging things he could have possibly done. The COVID stuff got people killed. It still is getting people killed. But the misinformation about voting and about people thinking it's insecure, and so it gives them a right to do stuff like shove and bully people or protest in the middle of a voting area, stuff like that, that's not normally allowed. That is one of the worst things he ever did. So when he was kicked off Twitter, I'm like, cool. He'll still go spout whatever he wants. Whatever he wants. And so what? There was still plenty of it on Twitter. Twitter is a piece of crap. When Elon Musk buys it and the rumor comes in that he might be allowing Trump back on, I don't know if he is or not. I knew that was my time to be like, I typically use Twitter for three things. I use it for news. And the reason you use it for news is if an explosion happens in Beirut, for example, I'll hear about it on Twitter within 2 clicks, right? And not only that, but I'll hear it from varied news sources that are reliable. ABC News, let's say, for example. They've been in the business since the beginning of, news, televised news especially. They're schlocky and they do silly day shows and stuff. But typically in the news department, they're not unreliable. They're not in the game of lying. They're not attempting to lie about things intentionally to misdirect people. They're simply there to report the news. Local newspapers can be pretty reliable, stuff like that. So you PBS, Public Broadcasting System. It's not a organization ran by lizard people. It's people who just show up and report the news, and they've probably been doing it for about 40 years. There's old people on there. You can rely on those sources generally as a good news source. So I follow a lot of those type of sources. And so within 1 click, I could see a bit of news, because it doesn't take any effort for a newscaster to be like, hey, there was a bomb, by the way, we'll have the story later. Then they have to do the makeup and the lights and do the story later. But on Twitter, you get at least the literal news, the new item that pops up. Secondly, I used it for keeping track of those social connections I've known over the years, people I only known through the internet. So that's been fun, little messages and stuff, maybe stuff from my favorite group, band, or stuff like that. So again, news kind of stuff. And then third, really mostly, you might not be aware of, I'm sure you are, maybe, I don't know if you followed me, that I have a digital life blog that I keep that is essentially, let's just say, if you're able to blog your life since you were a child. So that's been a project for many years. And Twitter was kind of a mini blog that I could then take that and turn it in, add it to the current blog of the life timeline. It's dated. It often has photos. So it's a good little miniature blog thing, right? But I also have a normal blog and blah, blah, blah. So all my social network stuff is generally used for record keeping, right? So I'm deleting that. And when you see somebody talk about how they think he's going to bring back free speech, make zero mistake, what he's talking about is allowing people to say worse things, which is covered in free speech. You can walk around saying you hate certain people or whatever. that's allowed or whatever. But on a private website, you're not. Please just learn that. I've covered this over the years, many years on podcast and stuff. Free speech is not applicable to a private website. Anyway, so that's why I'm doing it. And I like YouTube. YouTube is a cesspool in its own right. It's done plenty to spread misinformation, possibly more than Twitter, because it's in video form and people really, you can have a long form video, a documentary, that some guy made, or Dinesh Souza or something put out, some crap about vote mules and stuff. It just outrageous stuff can be put on this site and people never question it. The sheer volume of videos being uploaded every day, there's no way they can check all that out. But in this particular channel, in this space, I'm in charge. So I can delete comments, I can thumbs up comments, I can highlight comments, I can charge money, I can make money. Do you know what I mean? So it's basically a private little world that I control, and I like that aspect of it. So Twitter, while it is that as well, I no longer wanted to support in any way, especially Elon Musk. He's just something about billionaires. They get crazy. I don't know what it is. It's crazy. Anyway, so that's why I was doing it. Please, if you come to my videos and you think that I'm going to be political, I'm not pretty ever. But I don't care if you agree or disagree. It's not why you're here. So whatever. If you want to check out, go for it. So having said all that, I wanted to go ahead and cover how I tend to or try to save money while collecting toys. There's a lot of obvious stuff you do or can do, but there's some fun little tricks and stuff like that. But there's one main one that I use. It's kind of almost a philosophy more than anything. But this toy right here, I will use as an example of how this will give me a lot of different, this one toy will illustrate a lot of the different ways that you can possibly save money. I absolutely loved this little toy. I really loved her figure. I don't know that people understand that there's just not many, not only a woman of color, but I mean just like a woman in like military dress, in like a captain. I forget what she did in the movie. I think at this point, I don't know if this is the daughter or the mom. I can't remember. Anyway, I really, really like this figure because not only is she unique in what she is, she's a woman of color, she's her hair, her clothes, everything, but she's kind of a citizen. So she's not the hero of the story. So she's kind of she's definitely one of the heroes. But you know what I mean? In the Lightyear movie, she was a character. And so she's not the heroic necessarily people think. And then there's Buzz. But she's such a unique character that I thought, man, I want more of her because I wanted to maybe use her head on some other figure that fits. I want to do some customizing with her. And I just love that character, that figure. It's just not something you see a lot of. You really don't. In superhero toys, even you might see you see plenty of female heroes and stuff like that. And it's getting much better. But I like to see a variety of people, and that's one of the best figures. Also, the articulation is great. Watch my video on it. But this little kit, this little thing. I'm using my phone right now. I keep realizing this little. This is like $40. They ask like $40 for this. They say it's an exclusive to Target or something. They say it's somewhere. Anyway, when you look it up, it's like an exclusive to Target. It's a Disney. If you go into your local Target, which I know a lot of you toy collectors do, there's like a Disney section. One of the issues I have with major chains like Target, Walmart for toys is because they do cover mostly X amount of lines, toy lines. Mattel, Barbie, Hot Wheels, Lego. Lego owns 2 of those rows. So it's to me exactly what brought down Toys R Us years ago. And I was not sad to see Toys R Us go, other than the people losing their jobs and stuff. It's because when I was a kid, Toys R Us had so many unique, they had all the lines, but they also had generic toys and rip-off toys and just random things, a big, huge variety of price points too. But then later, especially in the 2000s, when I was older and stuff, the retailers would purchase an entire section. So you lost that charm of a toy shop. The customer service was garbage. There was no customer service, really, if you think about it. Whereas back when you were a kid, maybe there wasn't customer service as much, I don't know, but it definitely didn't exist later. They would hire 3 high school kids who would just goof off and organize a store. So for me, Target and Walmart are going that same route, although they've spread into more like collector stuff. They're still covering a set amount of lines. Now, granted, they only have so much space or whatever, and they are getting better about it. But they typically will carry major brands, and you know what I'm talking about, right? So if you're into those brands, or if you're into Fortnite or Transformers, which I love, sure, you're good in some ways, but they don't have all the Transformers, so it's kind of frustrating. It's a good spot for some of your mainstream toys, but also a rough spot. Anyway, so when you go in there and you see something like this, it's listed for, the last I checked, this is like $40, right? So the one I got here that I reviewed, it was $11.99. They had them all on clearance for $11.99 for this pack of 2, right? And I remember thinking, and this is tip number 1, I remember thinking, I should buy more than one of those for sure. I should get 2 or 3 of those, because for the price of one, I could get 3 or 4 of the discounted one. And I've done that before. I'm sure we've all done that. Oh, it's on sale. I'll grab 3 or 4 of them. So the first thing that I do to kind of control that impulse, or why I want to control that impulse, is I say, if I leave, this is a great deal. I'm the only one here. I seem to, you think for a second, I'm the only one who knows about this deal. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, guy or girl in the world. But you need to think, let's leave one for the next collector, that old saying, which I do believe that, leave one for the next person. So how I really make it stick is I think to myself, if this is a great discounted toy, I don't want to fill up on them. I could fill up my cart on these things, but I want to leave some for the next guy or girl or I want to leave one for the next. I picture a kid who has not much money, like when I was a kid, I didn't have much money, and how they would love to have a great toy for a discounted price. It's absolutely true. So that will kind of guilt you into leaving some behind, because all these are while these are discounted, you want somebody else to have some fun with the discount too. It's that exciting feeling when you find a discounted toy. You're like, hey, sweet. This is a great feeling. Even if you don't want the thing, you're like, I didn't even want it, but no, I do because it's so cheap, that kind of thing. So leave it for somebody else. That's my first tip. Secondly, I went back and they have these just piled up on the shelf. They're just sitting there, right? Dozens of them at my local Targets. Each one, they have dozens of these because it's too expensive. So you take your phone, you do 2 things. You have the browser open to Google, and you enter the title and you Google it, and you go to the shopping tab and you look at all the prices, see what the prices are, because Target and all major chains will price match Amazon and all sorts of stuff, because they know you'll literally just buy it right there and walk out and pick it up, get it in 2 days from Amazon or whatever, right? So they will typically price match. So Google it first, see if there's a price. That'll save you some money. Secondly, have your Target app. Go ahead and get the Target app or whatever the store you're in. I don't know that Walmart does the same thing. And you scan your little barcode using there's usually a search with a little scan option, like a camera option, and you just boop that. And it'll pull up a price that might only be available in the app or online or something like that, and they'll price match it as well. So keep an eye on that. But here's another thing. In most stores, or in a lot of stores, they'll have a little kiosk with a little computer, like a little tablet on it, and you boop. They don't want to price things on the shelf because that takes time and that costs money. So everything's digitized now. So you boop it, and on their little kiosk, I've gone into Target and seen a price on the kiosk that was different, a price on the shelf that was different, and a price in the app that was different. And then, of course, the prices on the shopping tab in Google. So one of the things you got to watch for is if you boop it and it's not found in the app, or if it's not found in their kiosk, and you should do this anyway, go find an employee, find some kid who's working there and say, excuse me, I'm confused at what the price is on this. Can you boop it? And they pull out their official Target device, not their app or whatever, but if they have one little Target app and they boop it and it doesn't come up, it's not coming up. There's no price there. I can't locate it. That happens quite a bit, I've noticed. And so I'm always asking, when it does that, when it does not appear in their system, go to the front. Just say, okay, thank you. I'll ask up front. Go to the front, go to the cashier, have them boop it, and say, it's not coming up in the system. I'm not sure how much it is. And they'll often set a price for you. So I got the first pack of these for $11.99. I wanted one more pack. There were so many, I wasn't too worried about the next kid that much. So I wanted one more. I went back, and the $11.99 price tags are all gone. They're back up to their $40 or whatever. It's a ridiculous price. I mean, it's a good set, but it's a bit, and so I scanned it. It wasn't coming up. And so I brought it to the front. I said, there's no price. I'm not sure what that is. And she was like, how about $10? I was like, $10 is perfect. And so it was 40 something. I got the first one, $11.99. This one I got for $10. It's not a trick or anything like that. They've got inventory, and sometimes inventory is not yet marked for clearance, or they're going to literally practically give the things away, or they send them back. And I guess they have like, years ago, I worked at a retail place years and years ago, and they would have like an overage type place where they would send stuff back. I don't know if they send it back to the retailer or what happens, but, and it happened to a Gundam toy I got over there. There's several of them. I don't see it, so I can't grab it. But there's these little Gundam collectibles that are normally like $14.99. I've seen them as much as $24.99. They weren't booping. Bring them to the front. She gave them to me for $3 a piece because she was just like, give me $3. And I was like, sure, give me all three. I got three of them for $9 instead of one for $14.99. So that's another good way to save some money. Essentially, ask an employee and investigate. Don't just allow the price that's on the shelf or that's even coming up. Investigate it a little bit, because often there is multiple price points, and the shelf price could be the last thing that it is. It might not even be the right item, so make sure you're getting the right item. And that's essentially saved me so many literal dollars, like right there at the store, instead of me having to send in a coupon or go get one. To sum up, basically, those are my main. I had a third one and I'm blanking. I don't write scripts. I completely had a third tip too that I use all the time. It's crazy. I'm forgetting. Anyway, to sum up, what I'm trying to say though is that you really have to be aware of your limitations as a collector. I'm not talking about saving money in the same way that it's like find a coupon and use it, or those two kind of practical tips I just gave. But as a philosophy, you have to kind of set limitations as a collector, and that in the long run is going to do the most to save you the most money. Because here I have two large shelves. I have a small shelf here. I have two kind of fun little collector shelves there, right? So that's pretty much the bulk of everything. I do have another shelf there, and then my wife's got her collection of K-pop stuff and dolls in her office in our living room. So if I wanted to, I could fill this office with shelving. I could have 10 shelves, 10 of these shelves. I don't even have the fancy shelves. I bought these years ago, and I'm leaving these how they are to kind of keep me humble in my collection. So if I wanted to, I could have 10 shelves lining the rooms of my house and the hallway, and have them all filled with Joy Toy figures and $400 anime statues and all sorts of stuff if I wanted to. But I know, and thank goodness I know this because I have no self-control in other areas of my life, but I know that that is the one thing that would ruin the hobby for me, is feeling overwhelmed. So I've always been in bands. I've been a writer. I'm an artist. I can draw and paint. I've done so many things, and I've always been able to recognize my limitations because I realize that I get bored quick. And I move on to something else because I'm just, you know how it is, you get bored, and your brain's going a mile a minute, and you know the hobby's not fun anymore. And I don't want to lose this hobby. I really enjoy it. I enjoy customizing them and stuff. I enjoy doing the videos for all 2,000 of you who are watching. And so the first thing that I did was I said to myself, what am I trying for here? Because the number 3 best saving tip is to understand your limitations. Because if you understand what you're trying to do with your collection, if you don't set those limitations, we all know probably somebody, a collector, who freaked out and had to sell everything. Or we've all seen the posts on the subreddit, for example, where the person's like, I literally had an accident and I have no money, and I'm selling all my classic G.I. Joes for a few thousand for no money because I have to have some quick cash. Stuff can happen. So you want to make sure that your hobby here is not interfering with saving some money each month or paying your bills or that sort of thing. There was a story recently about I can't remember where I saw it, but they were essentially talking, it was a doll collector my wife was watching a YouTube video from, talking about how his FOMO was getting him so bad, his fear of missing out, FOMO, that it was causing him real financial stress, talking about bill stress. And you can't let it get that way. That is literally the opposite of saving money. It's not a glamorous or a sexy tip or a cool tip like use this coupon site or something like that. But it's a philosophy. It's like you have to be honest with yourself and say, what am I trying to do and how much am I willing to spend each month, for example? Make a budget. Can my job support my hobby? Is time-wise, do I spend too much time on it? Do I need to spend more time with family or friends? You can be honest about that stuff. So those are my 3 real tips about it that I have found have kept me sane through getting back into this stuff, or getting into it really for the first time in my life, I should say, because I was never this much into it, is to research the prices, do it right in the middle of the store. Don't be ashamed to ask the employees to verify. That's what they're there for, and they're often super friendly people who are happy to help. And you might meet another toy collector. I've met toy collectors there, so that's always cool. You might meet somebody who can give you a little tip when something's coming in, or maybe give you a little text and say, hey, that toy just came in, or something like that. And then also to make sure you're leaving one for the next collector. Like I said, picture a poor kid in your mind, and that'll make you feel better about leaving that really great discount behind. Because I could have bought 4 of these, and I thought, no, there's still a bunch there. But so I got my second one, so I'm happy. I'm going to take Buzz's head off, and put a different head on Buzz's body, and then I'm going to put her head on maybe a Space Marine or a Sister of Battle if it works. I think it'll fit. Anyway, that's my rant of a podcast, episode 10. If you stuck it through this far, congratulations. I'm not going to have the podcast on Spotify anymore. It's work, and I don't want to do work. I was going to do it on Apple Podcasts, and all that. It's, again, work. I don't want to mess with all that stuff, and then it's spread out there. So just come here to the YouTube. If you want to listen to it in your car, open the app and minimize the app, and it'll play it in the background. You can also download it if you've got premium and stuff. So anyway, thanks for supporting me. I hit 3,000 subscribers. I don't know. Next goal would be like 3,500. I don't know why. I don't know. At some point, am I going to make more than $30 or whatever a month from Google? Maybe. Do I care? Not really, because I have a job. And, sure, if I had 10,000, 50,000 subscribers and this is my job, it'd probably be a lot of fun. But then I'd probably get bored of it. I bet you anything. But anyway, have a good day, everybody. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the page. Bye-bye. Have a good one.